Hello, this is Chapter 20, Consumer Choice and Elasticity. Fundamentals of Consumer Choice. Factors affecting choice. Limited income necessitates choice. Consumers make choices purposefully. One good can be substituted for another. Consumers must make decisions without perfect information, but knowledge and past experience will help. The law of diminishing marginal utility. As the rate of consumption increases, the marginal utility derived from consuming additional units of a good will decline. Entrepreneurs who have changed our lives. This is a picture of Sara Blakely. In 2000, Sara Blakely started the company Spanx with 2 years of part-time research, $5,000 of personal savings, and a lot of innovative ideas and marketing savvy. Spanx succeeded because Blakely updated an old apparel category, girdles and corsets, into the cool category of something called shapewear. Spanx now has 200 products and has even expanded into men's clothing. I would never know it. Along the way, Blakely became the youngest female self-made billionaire in the United States. Recently, attitudes about women's bodies have been changing. Maybe women shouldn't try to slim and shape themselves so much after all. In response, the company has been subtly softening its approach, noting how good the product feels, not just what it does. Even the most successful companies must adjust to changing preferences and market forces. Marginal utility, consumer choice, and the demand curve of an individual. The demand curve. The height of an individual's demand curve indicates the maximum price the consumer would be willing to pay for that unit. A consumer's willingness to pay for a unit of a good is directly related to the utility derived from consumption of the unit. The law of diminishing marginal utility implies that a customer's marginal benefit, and thus the height of their demand curve, falls with the rate of consumption. An individual's demand curve, Jones's demand for frozen pizzas in this case, reflects the law of diminishing marginal utility. Because marginal utility, or MU, falls with increased consumption, so does a consumer's maximum willingness to pay marginal benefit, MB. A consumer will purchase until MB equals price. So at $12.50, Jones would purchase 3 frozen pizzas and receive a consumer surplus shown by the shaded area, which is here, above the price line and below the demand curve. An individual's demand curve, Jones's demand for frozen pizzas in this case, reflects the law of diminishing marginal utility. Because marginal utility falls with increased consumption, so does a consumer's maximum willingness to pay, marginal benefit. A consumer will purchase until MB equals price, so at $12.50, Jones would purchase 3 frozen pizzas and receive a consumer surplus shown by the shaded area above the price line. And this is the formula here. Consumer equilibrium with many goods. Each consumer will maximize his or her satisfaction by ensuring that the last dollar spent on each commodity yields an equal degree of marginal utility. Here's a formula here. Price changes and consumer choice. The demand curve shows the amount of a product consumers would be willing to buy at different prices for a specific period. The law of demand states that there is an inverse relationship between the quantity of a product purchased and its price. Reasons the demand curve slopes downward. Substitution effect. As a product's price falls, it becomes cheaper relative to alternatives, and the consumer will buy more of it and less of other, now more expensive products. Income effect. As a product's price falls, the real income of consumers rises, inducing them to buy more of both it and other goods. The time cost and consumer choice. The monetary price of a good is not always a complete measure of its cost to the consumer. Consumption of most goods requires time as well as money. Like money, time is scarce to the consumer. A lower time cost, like a lower money price, will make a product more attractive. Time costs, unlike money prices, differ among individuals. Individual and market demand curves, which we can see here. Consider Jones's demand for frozen pizza. At $17.50, Jones demands one pizza. At $12.50, three pizzas, and so on. Consider Smith's demand for frozen pizza. At $17.50, Smith demands two pizzas. At $12.50, three pizzas, and so on. The market demand curve is merely the horizontal sum of the individual demand curves, here with Jones and Smith. The market demand curve will slope downward to the right, just like the individual demand curves. Questions for thought. Chuck is currently purchasing 3 pairs of jeans and 5 t-shirts per year. The price of jeans is $30 and t-shirts cost $10. At his current rate of consumption, his marginal utility of jeans is $60 and his marginal utility of t-shirts is $30. Is Chuck maximizing his utility? Would you suggest he buy more jeans and fewer t-shirts, or more t-shirts and fewer jeans? Number 2. If the price of gasoline goes up and Fran now buys fewer candy bars because she has to spend more on gas, this would best be explained by the substitution effect. Is this statement true or false? Elasticity of demand. Price elasticity of demand. Price elasticity reveals the responsiveness of the amount purchased to a change in price. Price elasticity of demand equals percent change in quantity demanded divided by percent change in price equals percent delta Q and percent delta P. Or put more simply, this formula here. Price elasticity numerical application. Suppose Trina bakes specialty cakes. She can sell 50 specialty cakes per week at $7 a cake, or 70 specialty cakes per week at $6 a cake. What is the demand elasticity for Trina's cakes? Percent change in quantity demanded equals 33.33%. Percent change in price equals 15.38%. And price elasticity of demand equals minus 2.17. And recall that we have the price elasticity of demand formula here. And in order to figure that out, we would just take the change in quantity demanded, which is the numerator, and then percent change in price, which is the numerator here, and just divide them, and that's what you get. After calculating the price elasticity of demand, you determine whether it is elastic, inelastic, or unitary elastic with the following. If the absolute value of the elasticity term is greater than 1, then the demand is inelastic. If the absolute value of the elasticity term is less than 1, then the demand is elastic. If the absolute value of the elastic term is equal to 1, then the demand is unitary elastic. Because price elasticity of demand is always negative, the sign on the coefficient is often omitted in the discussion of elasticity. Elasticity of demand continued. Perfectly inelastic, an increase in price results in no change in consumer purchases. The vertical demand curve is mythical, as the substitution and income effects prevent this from happening in the real world. Relatively inelastic over here, a percent increase in price results in a smaller percent reduction in sales. The demand for cigarettes has been estimated to be highly inelastic. Unitary elasticity. The percent change in quantity demanded due to an increase in price is equal to the percent change in price. A decreasing slope results. Sales revenue, price times quantity, is constant. Relatively elastic, a percent increase in price leads to a larger percent reduction in purchases. When there are good substitutes for a product, as with Granny Smith apples, the quantity purchased will be highly sensitive to changes in price. Perfectly elastic, consumers will buy all of Farmer Jones's wheat at the market price, but none will be sold above the market price. With this straight line constant slope right here, demand curve, demand varies across a range of prices, $11, $10, $2, $1. Using the equation for elasticity, the formula indicates that when price rises from $1 to $2 and quantity demanded falls from 110 to 100, the elasticity for that region of the demand curve is 0.014, or it's inelastic. A price increase of the same amount from $10 to $11 leads to a decline in quantity demanded from 20 to 10. The $1 change in price was smaller as a percent than in the previous slide, but resulted in the same change in quantity demanded. Applying the elasticity formula, the calculated elasticity is -7 greater than minus 0.14 from before. The price elasticity of a straight line demand curve increases as prices rise. Determinants of price elasticity of demand. Availability of substitutes. When good substitutes for a product are available, a rise in price induces many consumers to switch to the other product. The greater the availability of substitutes, the more elastic demand will be. Share of total budget expended on a product. As the share of the total budget spent on the product increases, demand is more elastic. As the price of a half a pound of hamburgers rises from $4 to $6, the quantity demanded plunges from 100 million to 25 million hamburgers per week. The percent decrease in quantity demanded is larger than the percent increase in price. Hence, demand for half a pound hamburgers is relatively elastic. As the price of cigarettes increases from $4 to $6, quantity demanded falls from 100 to 90 million packs per week. The percent reduction in quantity demanded is smaller than the percent increase in price. Hence, the demand for cigarettes is relatively inelastic. If the price of a product increases, consumers will reduce their consumption by a larger amount in the long run than in the short run. Thus, demand for most products will be more elastic in the long run than in the short run. This relationship is sometimes referred to as the second law of demand. Price elasticity of demand. Some of these are elastic, and then we have elasticity for the different products. How demand, elasticity, and price changes affect total expenditures or revenues on a product. Total expenditures and demand elasticity. This table summarizes the relationship between changes in price and changes in total expenditures for demand curves of varying elasticity. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Income elasticity. Income elasticity indicates the responsiveness of a product's demand to a change in income. Income elasticity of demand equals percent change in quantity demanded divided by the percent change in income. A normal good is a good with a positive income elasticity of demand. As income expands, the demand for normal goods will rise. Goods with a negative income elasticity are called inferior goods. As income expands, the demand for inferior goods will decline. Why is the income elasticity of demand for some goods greater than for others? What does it mean that the income elasticity of demand for margarine is negative? Can you think of any other goods which you would expect to have a negative income elasticity of demand coefficient? Take a look at some of these low income elasticity. Margarine, fuel, electricity, fish, lottery tickets, tobacco, hospital care. And then you have high income elasticity, private education, new cars, recreation and amusement, alcohol. Price elasticity of supply. The price elasticity of supply is the percent change in quantity supplied divided by the percent change of the price causing the supply response. Analogous to the price elasticity of demand, if the percentage change in quantity is small relative to the percentage change in price, supply is inelastic. If the percentage change in quantity is large relative to the percentage change in price, supply is elastic. However, price elasticity of supply is positive because the quantity producers are willing to supply is directly related to the price. Questions for thought. Number one, studies indicate that the demand for Florida oranges, Bayer aspirin, watermelons, and airfare to Europe are elastic. Why? Why is demand for salt, matches, and gasoline inelastic? Number two, are the following statements true or false? Explain. A 10% reduction in price that leads to a 15% increase in the amount purchased indicates a price elasticity of greater than 1. B, a 10% reduction in price that leads to a 2% increase in total expenditures on the product indicates a price elasticity of less than 1. Hint, if total expenditures increase, what does this imply about the change in quantity? Questions for thought. We have price $9, quantity purchase 110 per night, 11 100 per night, 13 80 per night. Suppose the owner or manager of Bobby's Red Hot Barbecue restaurant. Bobby projects the following demand for his baby back rib platter listed in the table above. Calculate the price elasticity for demand between $9 and $11. Is demand in this price range elastic, inelastic, or unitary? Calculate the price elasticity between $11 and $13. Is this range of prices elastic, inelastic, or unitary? This is the end of chapter 20. Thanks for listening.